to the Operation Game Night podcast. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. Instead of ranking mechanics or, debriefing games, we're going to put a designer in the hot seat. He is one of the most prolific designers out there, a monolithic pillar in the board gaming community. We're joined by none other than Reiner Knizia. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Knizia.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. You already caught me out because when the intro stopped, I think I was still on the water bottle and just caught me taking a final. I'm so nervous I had to drink something, because I know you threatened me to be grilled and I have an inquisition of 3 people here in front of me. So I will try to do my best.
We're really not all that scary, but thank you so much.
You see the bow tie?
Oh, skull and crossbones. Nice.
Defense.
That's right. Okay, so how this is going to work is we have scenarios designed for a specific type of game night. And what we want to do is we're going to pitch you this game night, and you're going to tell us which of your games you think fits that category or would be best suited to play at this game night. What do you think?
Perfect.
Okay. Clay, I'm going to give you the honor of the first shot at Dr. Knizia. You go ahead.
All right, Dr. Knizia, it's an honor, sir. The first scenario we have here is a common one at my household. So my wife and I, we have another couple over for dinner. The Uber Eats delivery driver is taking a little long. We got about 30 minutes till they're going to get here. And the couple we had over, they don't play a lot of games, but they see I have a lot of games. So what would be a good game to fill that space between the Uber driver coming and us eating?
Okay, so you need something relatively short, maybe a short card game, and you'll have to pay the Uber driver. So what about a game of money?
Oh.
Money is a very interactive game because you essentially have different banknotes. We have different editions, nicely illustrated, and you have these banknotes and you trade them. So essentially, there are some on the table. You want to catch them, and from your hand, everybody secretly chooses a few, reveals it. Whoever has revealed the most money has the first pick. So they can either pick one which is on the table, and there is good values on the table, so that invites you to put some money against it. But then you can also pick one of the other players. So if they bid, if you like something there, you take it because you try to get certain combinations of monies together to monopolize certain currencies. And sometimes you put in a lot of money to try to be first pick. Sometimes you say, just put very little in, because if the others put a lot in, even they have their first go, there will still be lots of money on the table to be picked. So, and then once you have played for 30 minutes, I think the one who has the most money in their hand can then fix the door and get the food and pay for it.
That's awesome, sir. Hey, so quick follow-up here. You obviously design a ton of these lighter filler games. I have quite a few of them myself. What do you try to do to make those games really bring out a fun experience in such a short amount of time? How do you think about that?
Okay, so that means we will not cover any other questions because now my answer will be very long. You see, my design philosophy is that I want to invite the players to engage with each other. So the games are really just a platform for enabling that. So I don't like games which have a lot of administration, lots of handling, and you get lost in all this doing, but you're not really playing. So this is my handwriting. This is not a value statement. There are different people like different types of games, but it is really give people the opportunity to get a very easy access. And like in money, that's an example. So you have a hand of cards, you see what's on the table, take some money, put it down, first highest bidder gets something, but not like in the usual bidding games where only the winner gets something. And so you sit there with 4 people, and only the winner gets one. And there is one person who always overbids. They will not win, but they take the fun of the game away. So here, everybody gets something. And if you sneak in with something little, and people will learn that in the first round. And the nice thing is, after the first game, they say, oh, now I know how to do it better. So can we just skip dinner and play another game. Send the Uber driver away and let him come in an hour, and we'll now try this one. If people forget food over the game,
Heck yeah, that's a dream come true.
That's not happening in our house. I will tell you that. We're very food driven.
you have not played the right games yet.
Jared, I think you're up with the next question.
My question for my game night is slightly different. Clay over here, he recently moved back to his hometown after being in the military for over a decade. And he goes and he bumps into all of his high school buddies. I think secondary school, is that what they call it in Germany? His teenage friends. But these guys, he's been playing video games with them. So is there any good board game nights that can transition his old buddies from video games to board games? Any good suggestions from your library, sir?
Yes, I have a spontaneous suggestion which will make the transition for them easier. I'm talking about My City. My City, I always give you long answers, forgive me, but then you get a bit of more substance to the games rather than just an answer and say, My City, next question. No. My City was my attempt to take the legacy games, so those games which actually change from game to game, and make them available for a wider audience. So take out, as we just said, tons of different rules, the complexities, bring the price down and make it a family game where people can enjoy one episode of the game within 20, 30 minutes. Everybody plays at the same time, no downtime, and you really build a city, but wherever you cut down a tree, the tree will not be there the next game. Wherever you build something, you may have something in the next game. And so you play through several games in each chapter, and each chapter takes you through a development of the city and the region. And so you build houses in this area, and it really invites you to build your own city, My City. But the transition is we also have and I believe in this case, a very wonderful implementation as an app of My City, which you can play. So those people who have to be kicked a little bit away from the digital world, they can try out My City on the digital apps. And then they will be so enthusiastic about it and then say, okay. And then you have it much easier to get them around the table, nail them down on the table and play with them. And then, of course, once you got them, they have to play all 8 levels, all 8 chapters with several games through in one night. This will be a real game night. Okay. Never ending.
So what kind of games on BGA do you play? Do you play on Board Game Arena at all, Dr. Knizia?
I don't. There are some of my games. There are some of my games there. You see, game design is initially having good ideas. And people always ask me, why are you not running out of ideas? No, I'm cursed by ideas, and I'm very happy about the curse. So I have too many ideas which I want to develop, but the development of the games takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of time, and also a lot of playtesting. So that means I will use all the time I have to develop the games, my children, and then we play almost every day, and therefore there's a lot of playing in my life, but it's playing the new prototypes. And when I play with other people, we sit around the table, I enjoy that most. Nothing against Board Game Arena, because there are different needs, different scenarios, and there are quite a number of our games on the Board Game Arena. If I want to really play something different, get distracted a little bit, then I would take out my tablet and just take a game which can be played in solitaire mode. Easy, it's always my turn. But that happens relatively rarely. But you see, I don't even have enough time to play all the important games which are out there by other designers and by other people. It's something I sometimes always trust my playtesters who play behind my back. And the publishers, so that we're not getting accidentally too close to something which is already there and so on. But so with this respect, I get a little bit of an insight what is there, so that I understand what's going on in the world, but not enough time to play, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, anytime you want to play with us, we're going to fly across the ocean, and we'll be playing with Dr. Knizia. So it'll be a business expense for Operation Game Night.
That's right.
But I'll pass it over to Travis for the next question. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So people are going to be gathering here very shortly, or by the time this publishes, will have gathered with family for the holidays. Mm-hmm. And those family gatherings are a great opportunity to get games on the table and get to play some games with your family. So what game would you recommend for 6 to 8 people, ranging between 6-year-olds and 70-year-olds, and none of them are really experienced with playing board games? They've maybe played Uno or Scrabble or something in the past, but don't have a whole lot of background in board gaming.
Okay. 6 to 8 is a real tough call. I have a few games which play up to 7 players. For example, you could play Picomino, which is a nice dice game. But you always have to look at the downtime. And I shouldn't talk down my own children, but I think if you play dice games and you take it in turns, 7 people is not ideal. I mean, if you're familiar with it and you play fast, yes. But I think in this situation, a card game would probably do a little bit better. So I could think of LAMA, for example. LAMA is a very simple, approachable game. And you could even stretch it. I mean, there is a certain number of players which is recommended, but nothing keeps you in LAMA to sneak in 1 or 2 extra players. No one, and you don't tell anybody, you won't be in trouble. And so you can just enjoy a relatively simple but quite tricky game, because you just try to get rid of your cards, but then there's a llamas who give you very bad cards. And the main dilemma there is, okay, I have a relative good situation, but I'm stuck a bit. Do I just draw new cards and try to unstuck myself, and it might get much worse? Or do I just stop and cut my damage, so then cut my losses, and hope that the others will get even further losses? Or do I take the risk? And this is the ever lingering dilemma you have in this game. And then it's also the fun to watch other people. Okay, he takes a risk or she takes a risk, and it didn't work out. Very good. So good. Glad that I got out. Yes. So it's a very short card game, plays in a few minutes, and everybody can get into it and enjoy it.
Yeah, we definitely love our llama games around here at Operation Game Night. And I feel like you design games for a wide swath of people. You kind of cast a wide net for your designs. You have simplistic or simplified designs all the way up to complex, heavier designs that, are for the more serious gamers, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. Do you find that there's an age range somewhere in there that is hard to capture for your designs? Like, are older people, younger people, like, how do you design for such a wide range of audience?
The age is actually not really the challenge. I mean, if you go very young, then yes, of course, you have to have a very different game. I do not, and in the group here, we do not design games for below 3 years old, because then you get the problem with kids swallowing stuff. So you have to have very different safety. And any rule-driven play for under 3-year-olds is not possible. Yes. So usually we start at 4, 5, 6 plus, and that is still a challenge. Once you get into the range of 8 plus, you are in a family, inverted commas, adult environment, and you can have really more challenging rule-based play. And from then onwards, it doesn't really matter if you are 15, if you are 55, if you are 150. And the stupid thing on the games always says from 9 to 99. This is so thoughtless, excluding older people. Yes, we all want to get 100, and then we're not allowed to play anymore. Side attack. But essentially, the challenge is a bit more in looking at different cultures. So apart from making children's games, which have different efforts, different cultures have sometimes a very different approach to games. That's the more challenging part, because when we design a game, when I design a game, of course I want to spread it around the world because it's a lot of effort going in. So why only use it in some markets? And that sometimes needs adaptations, theme-wise, mechanics-wise, or also price and size-wise. So that's the bigger challenge. Otherwise, I just enjoy not being put into one box, but trying to do lots of different types of games. That keeps me fresh and relevant, you know?
Yeah, well said. Clayton, back to you.
Yeah, all right. So my next scenario, I spent some time working with wrestling teams, high school wrestling teams, helping out. Got a lot of teenagers. You know, they think I'm pretty nerdy for playing a ton of board games. What board game do you think I could bring to your average teenager that might think they're a little too cool for board games and to get them hooked?
How many people are these?
Let's say it's just a group of 4.
These are all smart people. The young people guys are all very smart. And so I would actually suggest to challenge them with El Dorado, the quest for El Dorado. This is a bit more sophisticated, so not really for somebody who has not played a game yet, but I think it catches enough of the challenge to say, okay, this is something I'm going to master. And so if you put that in front of younger people, they can see what needs to be done, but they cannot discard it as trivial, but they can also, of course, not admit it's too complex for them, and it is not. It's difficult when you talk about your own children. I'm particularly proud of El Dorado because, again, it's my take on deck building games. What is a deck building game? Each player has their own little deck of cards, and you play with this deck, but the deck changes throughout the game. And the big invention of that mechanism was Dominion is a wonderful design, but it is relatively complex. I'm a relatively experienced player. I had my difficulties getting into the game when it came on the table first. So I thought, how do I open it again for a wider public? I want to reach lots of people, bring enjoyment. That's my motto to many people. And when you have this deck of cards, when you have an abstract mechanism, why should I change my deck? What's the intention? What am I aiming for? Now, here we have a very flexible board in El Dorado. That means when you start and you go through the jungle, very clear, I need a machete, I need this and this and this. But you already foresee that a river is coming. So how do we get over the river? You need a boat. So quite clearly, eventually I need to see that I get a boat and that the others don't snatch the boat away from me. So I need to get that into my deck. Otherwise I'll be there because it's a race to El Dorado. I'll be the first there. So I have the boat. Very good. But so I understand why I want to take things into my deck. I need that. Now I've crossed the river successfully with the boat. I'm very proud of myself. Now comes the desert. And I'm really advancing fast through the desert. And eventually I ask myself, why am I carrying this boat through the desert? And so this motivates that there is also a good idea to get rid of some cards and to try to get something more useful in the desert than carrying a boat. And because every card which is useful gets you ahead, and any boat which you carry through the desert doesn't get you any further. And as it's a race, people will be laughing at you seeing you carrying the boat, yes? And you don't want to be laughed at, so better get rid of the boat. And it's not always the same because we have a very flexible modular board. And so the race is always on, but it's not always the river next and it's not always the desert next. And so this is what makes the challenge of the deck building game. The situation is always different. There is no general way of how to build a deck. You have to accommodate the situation. And that's the challenge. And so give that to the youngsters and let them reach El Dorado and beat them desperately hard in the first time so that they say that they haven't even made it over the river, and then give them the challenge to do better.
That's awesome. That's a great recommendation. I'm waiting for those expansions here in the US.
Yes. Yes, I have actually. Not so sure if I'm allowed to say it. I have actually.
Don't get in trouble.
We don't want no lawsuits here, sir. We can't afford that.
If I say it, then
Oh,
no. So there are things to come. We have a 10-year anniversary in 27 of El Dorado, and there are things to come. I haven't said anything, but maybe people have heard something into it which I shouldn't have said.
hey.
Wow. Got us excited, that's for sure.
Yep.
Jared, over to you.
Yeah, well, sir, I mean, Quest for El Dorado, I was introduced actually only a couple months ago by Clay. As you can tell, his collection is much more extensive than mine back behind me. And Quest for El Dorado, I'm definitely using my birthday money. Another thing we talk about on the podcast all the time, birthday money, Christmas money. Going to be getting Quest for El Dorado here shortly. My question is slightly a little bit more different. We're also gathering for the holidays. I am from Utah, big families in Utah. I'm going to bump into some hyper-competitive siblings, cousins.
Mhm.
What are some good games that scratch those, hyper-competitive people, but make sure that we don't, burn any bridges after we walk away? Maybe that's an interpersonal thing about burning bridges. But what are some good games for the hyper-competitive gamers out there?
Well, if you want to play a two-player game, take Schotten Totten or Battle Line. So if you just want to have a one-on-one competition, then do that. These are just two different implementations of the same game where you are fighting over border lines. It's not a war game, but it's more. It started out in Scotland, where the clans did try to move the border stones a little bit towards or away from them, and so you build card combinations and try to claim things. So that's for two players. If you want to have a bigger competition for highly competitive people, then I think you need kind of an auction where everybody can see how smart they are. And I suggest Ra.
Yes.
Ra is, again, I mean, it's the description of these games, that's what I want, is relatively simple and straightforward. But the play is not. So if you know Ra, each of us builds an Egyptian civilization. And this is made out of lots of tiles, which you collect. You have god tiles, you have the pharaoh tiles, which you need. You have the Nile, which of course you need to flood. The pharaoh is responsible for this. You build culture of different people, different crafts people, and you build these monuments. Yes, and every now and then there is a scoring and you want to do best. So you try to get these tiles. And now comes the highly competitive part. Each player starts with a few suns because Ra is the sun god and the sun allows you to bid. So it is an auction game in a way that we turn up one tile after another. I mean, it's your turn, you have to turn up a tile, or you say, okay, it's enough, I want to bid. So you shout Ra, and then you can either bid with one of your suns, or sun not to be seen as a person, but as a token. Then somebody else can overbid you, or they can pass, and the highest sun wins the tiles. Now, the first thing that cannot happen is that one player takes all the auction winnings, because you only have, let's say, 3 suns. Depends on the player a bit, players a bit. So you have 3 suns. So within one epoch, one kingdom, there's an early kingdom, middle kingdom, late kingdom in we all know history in Egypt. So within each kingdom, you only can win the bid 3 times with your sons. So with this respect, you need to think very carefully, because at the end of each kingdom, you need to be able to show something. You have flooded the Nile, you need some, you might even get negative points if you don't build any culture, yes? But now comes my games are simple, but never so linear that you can calculate them. The trick with Ra is that when you bid and win the bid with your son, the sun goes into the middle and stays with the next tiles you're turning up to auction. That means you're not only bidding for the value of the tiles, which you own, but you're also bidding for the sun you will have available for bidding in the next kingdom. So with this respect, do you want to have lots of tiles, but a really, forgive my saying, but it's crappy sun tile, or do you want to actually already shout Ra when there is no tile in the middle? Because you just say, this is the highest sun. So I'm not taking anything now, marshmallow test. I'm not taking anything now, but next kingdom, I am the strongest guy, and I will, of course, then get the biggest bit. But then people they're unfair, when you play. And this is the competitive part. They shout Ra all the time before lots of tiles build up. And I have my very strong sun, and I can't use it because it's always little bits and pieces that get auctioned away until they have auctioned away all their suns. And then I sit there with my strongest and get everything, but I could have done this with the weakest sun as well because nobody else can bid.
That I just could not wait for you to talk about Raw, and I'm so glad that you explained that. So Clay's wife Mary is queen of Raw, and I don't know. Every time we play Raw, it just feels so good to pull out the I don't know what you call that, the to declare Raw, to slam that on the table.
Yeah.
Something
it
gets you something in the brain. The frontal lobe just explodes, and yes, the competitiveness, the excitement, and truly simple actions, but the toughest decisions to make in your games. Your children are beautiful. So yes, thank you for going through that with me, and pass it over to Travis for the next one.
Now, you just mentioned something which brought into my mind a game I should mention. So I already know the answer to your next question. Let's see if it fits. So that's not the answer.
Not the droids you're looking for.
First date, I would play Lost Cities. Lost Cities is a nice card game, and what I get reflected or fed back over and over again is that they say, this is my spouse game. So, particularly if you go back in history, lots of male gamers there and play, and the enthusiasts. And then how do I get my girlfriend, my spouse, to play a game? And people tell me over and over again, Lost Cities is the one that catches my girlfriend, that catches my wife. So when you're taking her on a date, you might make a good catch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, in the end, we're all responsible people when we play games. I do not glorify violence and bloodshed, so that you will not, and I will veto that if a publisher wants to go there, so you will not see that in my games. If we talked about Schotten Totten or a battle line, this is, it's a historical battle. You build card combinations. You don't get any injuries from that, and it's more fun. It started out with the Scottish clans fighting over the little stone, bringing it back and forth. Yes. So, but there is the responsibility for us. I know there are some people who have difficulties losing. In kids, that's what you would expect. Therefore, in a children's game, you do not want to build things in which you take away things from the other. So the mother has to take something away. From which of her two children does she want to take something away? It's a death sentence, So stay away from these things. But otherwise, I cannot put a safety net into my games, to say the truth. If people are out of character, then things can happen, but that can happen with many different things. So what I try to do is give people a platform to engage, but that also opens it up for different engagements people choose. Yes. But that's also the nice thing, because you see, you get a very quick insight into people, and I love it, because when you sit around the table, everything else is forgotten. Your religion, your color, your background, education, age, uh, male, female, something else. It doesn't matter. You sit there, you engage on this platform, and it opens the door to other people. And that's really wonderful. Yes. And some people love playing and some people don't love playing. Nobody's forced to play.
Oh man.
Yes. It was a great pleasure. Thank you for having me there. You know that I made my answers so long so that the grilling couldn't go on for too many questions in too many situations. But we ran out of time, and I was not able to tell you about the game, which I said I need to mention. So much to do and so little, so few turns, and they are getting everywhere towards me. So that might also be something for the very competitive one. But unfortunately, we are out of time, so I have to leave you guessing.
Oh man. Wow. That's a cliffhanger. Ooh.
So many camels and so few turns.
Ooh. Yes.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine.